All right, welcome to round number 3. Our hand looks much better than our hands have so far. We'll definitely keep. We are on the draw, but yeah, this hand is quite good. Has a little bit of everything that we're looking for. In fact, we got a Scourge Tribe Scout to get early ramp going. We got an Amulet of Vigor to make sure we keep kind of being proactive early, basically. Speeds us up quite a bit. All right, looks like some KCI action from our opponent. I enjoy that deck quite a bit. I wish it was a little better. We can make 4 mana here. That's obviously not going to be enough for our Titan. It would be nice to bounce this Gemstone Mine, but I don't have another bounce land. So I'm going to start here, untap, float. I could get really greedy and assume I'm going to hit another bounce land, but I don't think I will. I don't think there's any reason to get really greedy here. So I'm going to Stirrings, looking for one perhaps, and we find a bunch. Taliaferro, Vesuva, Gruul Turf. I'm going to take Gruul Turf in case something happens to my Simic Growth Chamber, something strange. I don't know what it would be out of KCI, but I'm going to be a little paranoid. Cast this Relic, and then I could cast another Tribe Scout to make sure I have even more mana next turn. I think that's fine. So we'll get that Gruul Turf going. Untap. We'll bounce this, and then Tribe Scout. It's not really 100% necessary, but our opponent's also not really going to most likely interact with us at all. This is largely just a racing matchup, and I think we're a little faster and a little more consistent than their deck, although both can certainly turn 3. And I guess it's also theoretically possible for both of us to turn 2, although unlikely in both cases. I think still even more so, more unlikely for my opponent than for us, but the only way we can do it involves multiple amulets. Hanger back for 1, sure. So on our turn 3, we're finally going to turn 3 a Titan here. Play this. Float, bounce. Use this to play another. Float. I guess I could have done these 2 instead here, but that's all right. I'll do it that way. So let's think about this here. I'm not going to be killing my opponent this turn. I can 16 them. But then they could actually go off next turn and kill us. So maybe I've even misevaluated the matchup a little bit in saying that we're faster, considering I don't actually kill them. We're faster at doing what we want to do, but perhaps not at killing them unless I have 2 amulets. Either way, I think we're going to grab this here. And then the best thing I can likely do after that is make sure I have an untapped mana for my Relic. Which is pretty trivial, obviously. So I'm looking for something a little more exciting than that. I could also stronghold them here. Have another land play from my hand, but that would require me to get stronghold, bounce land, end up bouncing the stronghold and a bounce land because I'd have to play another bounce land from my hand. So we'd end up with 3 lands in play after that. And no untapped mana for my Relic. I think it's more important to play around Scrap Trawler a little bit. So maybe we just get a Taliaferro in a Growth Chamber. Radiant Fountain doesn't matter. Ghost Quarter probably doesn't matter. Sunhome, I'm not going to Sunhome right now for the reasons I already mentioned. Vesuva doesn't get to do anything interesting. Just want to go through all my options here. So yeah, we're just going to grab Growth Chamber, Taliaferro. I guess the best thing I can do here is just transmute for a pact. And pact their thing. There's really nothing else I can do to potentially stop them here. It's kind of annoying because I have to then not leave up my relic, but I guess it doesn't matter. Which land would I most prefer to have in my hand? I guess the Gruul Turf. Just leave that. So we already have blue. And if something were to happen to one of my blue, I could produce another in my upkeep with this. So yeah, Pact of Negation it is. That seems like the only real way I can get in my opponent's way. And I probably just play it real safe and pact their KCI, I think. I mean, not sure what else I would be looking to pact. Opponent just concedes. Yeah. Probably spent a little too much of my clock trying to think if there was a better thing than pact. I probably should have just like went for the pact real quickly, but I don't imagine this is one of those matchups that we're going to use a lot of our clock, so it's probably not a huge deal. Enchantment, instant, or sorcery. So Swan Song looking a little awkward here. Obviously hitting artifact is our biggest desire. Bog is probably fine. I mean, it's definitely better than one of my other lands, so I guess we'll bring that in. Dismembers for Scrap Trawler seems relevant. Obviously, Claim and Rexage and Explosives are the most exciting things we've gained. Pact is great. We'll leave that for sure. Ballista is questionable. I'm probably going down on Explorers. Relics are useful still. So that probably means I'm cutting a lot of Explorers. As far as lands are concerned, I probably cut the Cavern. Although Radiant Fountain and Colony Garden both particularly unexciting. And I guess I want to keep untapped lands, or untapped green sources on one for Tribe Scout. So I think we will cut those two lands and then cut my Explorers. I think that's, whoops, I think that's where I want to be. Sorting it by rarity, not a particularly helpful tool for sideboarding, at least. Is there something I'm forgetting that's useful in my board as well? I mean, not really. Kozilek's Return and Fire Spout both hit the Scrap Trawler, but I don't really want that. I have Dismembers for that job, and I have Relics as well for sort of for that job. And the Bog. Although, if I don't have a Sakura Tribe Scout, Bog is probably not super powerful here. All right, what do we got going on? This hand is slow, but has a Relic and a Stirrings. Even if I find Amulet off of this, though, where am I really? Am I really in a decent spot in this race matchup? I mean, if I draw Taliaferro West, I can transmute that into a Pact, but I'm not going to be able to pay for the Pact for a long time, so that's not really much help. I don't have Tribe Scout or Azusa here or Summoner's Pact to find one. Man, this hand is super close. I'm not sure I can keep it without an accelerant. Obviously, we could draw one, but I think this is going to have to be a mulligan in this matchup. This, weirdly enough, looks a little better. Wow, that's tough. Could get really greedy and assume I'm hitting a bounce land here. I sort of already have the Pact for this Azusa if I want it, but then I could use this Pact on like a Rexage at some point. I think I'm supposed to top that, even though that's exceptionally greedy. Razor Birch Thicket is interesting. Alright, so we got a bounce land in here, thank goodness. Take the blue one. So we're more likely to be able to transmute when we want to. All right, opponent has an accelerant, 2 accelerants even. That's good for them. 3 accelerants. All right, so they they certainly will have a lot of mana to work with next turn. If I want to leave up my Dismember, then I'm turning off the ability to cast Azusa next turn, so I think we're just going to hope for the best here, which is risky to say the least. Risky to say the least. By the way, I described a potential for my opponent to have a turn 2 last game. And I think it's possible if they have like Citadel, Citadel, Opal, Float, KCI, Sack, Trawler, and then like Sphere or Star Sack, and then move from there. That's obviously difficult, but all right. Well, they have KCI. Do they also have just a Trawler here? No. Okay, that's a Mind Stone. Thank goodness. If that was a Trawler, we were probably going to lose. As is, we're not in a terrible spot. Our opponent kind of needs to have a Trawler to continue here. Both their Mind Stones already tapped, so either way, I'm still in trouble, I guess I should say. Like, it's not like, I mean, my opponent's going to be able to draw 4 cards next turn, their card for turn, and then sack all of these. Fortunately for me, none of these are the things that they can just sack to gain mana now. Oh, looks like they are going to make mana now. They don't get a card off of that now. Scrap Trawler. Okay. So now they can sack a Mind Stone. I wonder why they must have drawn it off of their Mind Stone sack. Yeah. Yep. So we're in a lot of trouble now. It's still theoretically possible for our opponent to brick. Now it's very, very unlikely for our opponent to brick. That was a good series of draws. It's a very good hand from our opponent for sure. Now it's going to be tough. So they returned Opal. They get to Opal up for more mana. For anyone who's unfamiliar, Scrap Trawler, whenever one of their artifacts gets put in the graveyard from play, they get to grab an artifact from their graveyard with a lower CMC. So they just get to keep chaining down. So they just sacked an Opal, or they just sacked a Star for mana, got to draw a card, and then got to get an Opal back from their hand. So they're generating a lot of mana along the way because they get to like play this Opal, float mana, sack it to their Ironworks, and then when they sack a 1, they just get the Opal back anyway, and then they get to start from 2 again. So something like Ichor Wellspring, they get to play, draw a card, sack it, get the mana back, draw a card, get a 1, and then when they sack the 1, they get their 0 back, and so on. They just get to continue chaining. Now that my opponent has produced a second Scrap Trawler, there is basically no way at all that we could possibly win from here. Or rather, that our opponent could possibly brick from here. So we are quite dead. I'm a tad interested to see how my opponent personally has elected to win the game. Whether it be through Emrakul or something else. So I think we'll let them continue for a little while longer. On top of that, I personally think KCI is fun to play. I hope my opponent does as well, so I kind of don't want to spoil their fun. Even comboing off like this, I think, is interesting because it's not necessarily deterministic. So I still think it's a little bit of fun. Hopefully they're having, obviously not particularly fun to play against, but I imagine they're having a little bit of fun. And on top of that, catching back up on clock equity is relevant. So we will try to catch back up here. But yeah, like I said, a lot of the games here I think are going to be linear races. Obviously I could have kept up Dismember. So we would have been able to be in a better spot. I still think our spot would have been a little rough, considering they would have had a KCI, a bunch of mana, and a bunch of draws. So we wouldn't have exactly been in the best spot, which is why I think I went ahead and took the risk I took, because, all right, they do in fact have Emrakul. So they're just Emrakuling us here. Yep. We will sack a permanent and then take 21. All right. don't think there's anything differently I want to do here. Like I said, Swan Song unfortunately does not cut it here. Explosive's still very good. Dismembers are nice. I want my Graveyard Hate as well. Yep, we're keeping it as is. But as I said, yeah, we're kind of two linear decks passing by each other. We both have probably, I guess we probably have more ways to interact with them than they have with us by a pretty wide margin. But yeah, I mean, this hand is not really going to cut it. We have no real accelerants until turn 3, and in this matchup, I think that's too weak. This is better. We at least have an Amulet, so I can turn 2 in Azusa, have an Engineer Explosives to potentially buy us some time. But we're in a little bit of a weird spot where I don't have a Titan and I don't actually have a lot of lands. Really all I need is a Titan here though. I think we just have to bottom this aggressively looking for Titan. Yeah. It gives us, the one reason it's tempting is it gives us more colors for our explosives, like if I want to do explosives on 4 for KCI or something. But again, we're on the play here as well. I think we're just trying to all in for a Titan here. I'm gonna have to leave this bounce land in my hand unless I find another bounce land. Tendo Ice Bridge. Wow. Okay. That's unfortunate. Well, now we're real slow. We obviously could explosives on 0 if we wanted to slow our opponent down here. I don't think that would be very wise, though. Probably just go Azusa land. Yeah, I also don't have double green, so this Pact is tough. I can Ghost Quarter myself at some point. That's obviously not super exciting for us. But my opponent could kill us on this turn, which is why it's a consideration, obviously, to explosives on 0. Them starting on that means they probably don't have KCI, but they could have been lacking the land. Decay my Azusa is totally fine. So opponent actually put in a lot of interaction. That's a good draw. Blue, colorless. Well, I guess we just float a blue for now. Well, let's think about this a little while longer. So my assumption is that I'm bouncing a Taliaferro West and using the floating mana to transmute it into something. Although, sadly, I can't get a Pact of Negation once I've already... Well, I can, but I won't be able to cast it once I've already bounced one of these. Let's see here, my mistake. Let's take a look at our deck list here. Wrong tab again. In case I'm forgetting something. So obviously we can get this Rex Sage that we boarded in. Yeah. Off of the thing here, but whoops. Derp. We can get a Rex Sage off of the Summoner's Pact at some point. I can get explosives, but I already have one, so that's not very helpful. Ballista doesn't really do anything here. Bog doesn't do anything. Ghost Quarter doesn't do anything. Yeah, so I guess we're just going to play this, set up for Titan next turn. I probably still grabbed Pact of Negation, considering that when I Titan, I can actually set up for... set up for paying for the pacts, but I'll have to pay for my other pact as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Unless I also make a land drop next turn, I still can't cast both. So maybe I just grab another explosives and then use this explosives for 0 and just try to slow my opponent down rather than the pact. Yeah, I just think the pact's going to be largely uncastable for a little while, so It might be good to still grab for the future, but I think I have to worry about the now. So I'm just going to Sunburst this for 0 and pop it right away. My explosives unfortunately don't match, so it's important that I show them the one that we just tutored for, so they don't know about our other explosives. And then next turn we will Summoner's Pact for Prime Time, cast Prime Time, probably get Growth Chamber. And I basically need to get 2 blue sources so that I can pay for pacts in the future. And I'm going to be bouncing a Taliaferro West. So I might just get Growth Chamber, or I could get another Taliaferro West. Stirrings for a Wellspring. Well, it's getting to look at a lot of cards here, which is concerning. We did draw a land, so I would have been able to pay for pact this turn, interestingly enough. It's even a blue land. So we're of course doing this. Getting a Titan. Yeah, we're just getting a Titan. How many basics is my opponent playing? I don't remember what to expect. Looks like this preview window is jumping around. Unfortunately, I'll fix that. I'm sure they don't have many. So I'm trying to decide whether I'd rather leave up Ghost Quarter or like I can hit this, put them off of less colors. That's not likely to be relevant unless it's actually a strip mine. That's probably more relevant than leaving up this 1 mana. What am I tutoring for off of my Titan though? Like Bog blue bounce land. Bounce this. Yeah, I think that's fine. So let's do it that way. I assume they have another forest, so I don't think we're actually strip mining them, but at the very least we can cut them off of additional colors, which is unlikely to be relevant, but probably more relevant than whatever else I can do here. I need to grab blue bounce land, even though red-white bounce land would be nice to set up for additional haste, although I have Gruul Turf and Sanctuary in play, so I guess that's not necessary. I also have the mine. So yeah, blue bounce land and Bog here are what I'm going to go for. Put that on the stack, put that on the stack, and I guess I should Ghost Quarter them with that on the stack, although I can't imagine that would ever be relevant. And I could bounce the Bog, although that's not really relevant either, so we'll just bounce. Oh, nice. It was a strip mine. Yeah, I figured like 1 to 2. I was hopeful, but I'm glad it worked out. We'll bounce this. I can transmute for Pact in the future. Pact of Negation, that is. So next turn we have 2, 4, 6, 8 mana. If I draw an untapped land, I could also transmute for... Oh, I have to pay for Summoner's Pact, right? Yeah, so I don't have nearly that many. So we'll pay for Summoner's Pact with these to leave up the ability to transmute. So I only have 4 mana to work with. Obviously, I can get a bounce land, untap a land, and bounce an untapped land to play again to go up to 5. But there's 2 3 mana things I want to do here, and I guess pulling up the Wellspring is particularly unexciting. So I think we'll just transmute this for Pact of Negation. But no, I should have done that first actually, because I probably want to bounce this Gemstone Mine in combat here. Just wanted to attack first to see if anything weird happened, but it's pretty unlikely that anything's going to go on in combat other than my opponent just taking the damage. I think we just want another Taliaferro West here. That seems important. And more blue mana. I can grab Slayer Stronghold to haste future Titans, but I think since I'm going to grab a Pact of Negation with one of these, it's more important that I just play a little bit of a longer game. Make sure we have double blue for that. Transmute this for Pact of Negation. And say go. All right. So I'm very tempted to let this resolve. The biggest issue is that my opponent can obviously make a lot of mana, and there's not a lot I can do in the middle to stop them. So I think, unfortunately, I'm just going to have to pact this. And then this turn, I might just put an explosives on 4, which means paying like, guess I need to tap both of these. Then there's no real good way to do this. We're going to lose our mine this turn. Interesting. Okay, so again, I think Rex Aging this is not a very good plan. Bogging my opponent likely doesn't matter. I'm just going to use this untapped land. Oh, actually, this is really a huge problem. I can't explosives on 4 and leave up 2 with the way we have it tapped here, right? Yeah, because I have all green untapped lands. So now I have to tutor like mine. Or something. I guess it has to be mine. Mine untapped land. Bounce land, rather. Yeah. So that I can play that here. That does mean that next turn, I guess next turn I could transmute for Slayer's Stronghold to kill my opponent. But I like taking this conservative line here. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then make a different color, and then make a different color. Blue and black. All right. X is 4. Then if my opponent has another KCI, we can at least slow them down. They can still make 6 mana, but not much else they can do. So I guess with how much mana I have, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, instead of transmuting for Slayer's Stronghold, we just get a Summoner's Pact into a Titan bounce land. Actually, here, let me make sure we have red and white, since I have to play the Slayer's Stronghold as my land for turn. 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9 means I can spend 6 of it and still have 3. So yeah, we can easily have red and white floating. So I do grab a Summoner's Pact. Obviously, we do not play a land. Get a Titan. Make sure I have red and white floating here. So I use the blue and the green and this black here. Make sure we click very carefully. I still have a gemstone mine, I suppose, if I screwed it up a little, but I'd rather not have to worry about that. So we'll just grab Boros Garrison this time, even though it doesn't really matter. And Slayer's Stronghold. Return the Stronghold. Play the Stronghold for turn. Activate it on this Titan. And then attack with both of these. If my opponent isn't dying, though, we have put our engineered explosives down, unfortunately, but they are, in fact, dying there. So that was round number 3, and I will see you in round number 4.